Tomorrow is May 1st, a national holiday in Pakistan. For those in the formal sector, it means a guaranteed paid day off. Corporations send out appreciation emails, politicians hold televised rallies, and office buildings lock their doors. But step outside those air-conditioned offices, and the holiday disappears. For a factory laborer feeding raw materials into a thresher, or a domestic worker cleaning 3 houses before noon, May 1st is just another grueling 12-hour shift. This chart shows the reality of Pakistan's labor force. A staggering 70% of all workers operate in the informal economy. They fall completely outside the safety net of legal protections, official contracts, and paid leave. We have created a system where International Workers' Day is celebrated exclusively by the people who already have labor rights, while remaining completely invisible to the millions of laborers the holiday was actually created for. To understand why May Day exists at all, we look back to 1886, when workers in Chicago went on strike for an 8-hour workday. They faced immense resistance, and several died in the ensuing Haymarket Affair, when police clashed with the crowds. The tragedy galvanized the international labor movement. Workers around the world rallied around the victims, utilizing the 1st of May as a recurring global strike to demand basic legal recognition and humane hours. Pakistan committed to these global standards early, joining the International Labor Organization in 1947. By 1972, the government officially implemented its first major labor policy, declaring May Day a national public holiday. Yet over a century after that fight, the vast majority of our society works 10 to 12 hours just to survive. We commemorate a historical victory that most of our population has never actually experienced. The problem isn't a lack of laws. The Constitution of Pakistan strictly forbids forced labor, and provincial ordinances clearly mandate minimum wages and social security benefits. On paper, the rights exist. The reality is entirely different, thanks to a system designed to bypass those laws, the subcontractor loophole. Factory owners avoid hiring laborers directly. Instead, they sign a contract for services with a middleman. A case study of industrial workers in Sheikhupura revealed how this works in secondary cities. Because the workers are technically employed by the subcontractor, the factory owner holds zero legal liability for their working conditions. This legal distance creates financial devastation. The factory pays the middleman, who takes a heavy cut. The actual workers end up earning far below the legal minimum wage of 15,000 rupees and receive absolutely no health or social security benefits. The structure exists specifically to render these industrial workers legally invisible while remaining technically compliant with the law. Stepping away from the industrial zones and into residential neighborhoods reveals an even more vulnerable group: female domestic workers. Paid domestic service is almost never treated as formal employment. Instead, it gets tangled up in the cultural concept of chadar or chardiwadi, the veil and the 4 walls. The physical labor of cleaning, cooking, and washing is dismissed as an innate female duty rather than a professional service. Because this work happens behind closed doors, the isolation is absolute. Workers have no written contracts, meaning they often face extreme hours, verbal abuse, and delayed payments. Without the ability to organize or seek legal recourse, they become socially dead to the system. We use our cultural norms to shield our own households from scrutiny. By calling it tradition, we transform unchecked economic exploitation into an accepted, everyday practice. Right now, International Workers' Day serves as an empty performance. We broadcast talk shows about labor rights, politicians issue hollow promises, and corporations host wellness retreats for executives. Moving forward requires the government to aggressively implement existing frameworks, like the Punjab Domestic Workers Act of 2019. We have to drag the invisible workforce onto the legal books, officially recognizing domestic help as formal employees with mandated limits on their hours. In the private sector, businesses need to stop hiding their liability behind subcontractors. Corporations must voluntarily enforce living wages and basic safety standards for every janitor, security guard, and factory worker in their supply chain, regardless of who signs the paycheck. But the most immediate change happens in our own homes. We must stop treating domestic help as an informal luxury and start recognizing it as dignified, regulated labor that deserves a contract, a minimum wage, and actual time off. Honoring the history of 1886 means finishing that work right here at home, by finally extending the 8-hour day to the millions of people in Pakistan who are still waiting for it.